On the 24th of June 1947, Kenneth Arnold, an American aviator and a businessman, was flying near Mount Rainier in Washington state. He was searching for a transport plane that had gone missing in the area. He ended up seeing something extraordinary and strange, a series of 9 unusual objects flying in a V formation. He estimated their speed to be 2,700 kilometers per hour, 3 times faster than any aircraft at that time. He said they were moving side to side, occasionally flipping and darting around, and looked like saucers skipping on water. The news of his sightings hit the US media. The pilot had all the makings of a reliable witness, but the details of his observations were twisted. Media reports said he had encountered flying saucers. This was perhaps one of the biggest misquotes in history, but the term flying saucer became a household name in America. Soon everyone was scanning the skies for flying saucers. Reports started coming in from all over the world. There were nearly 853 flying disc sightings in 1947 alone. And they grew with time. This obsession turned into pop culture. It became fodder for Hollywood films, which linked the phenomenon with aliens. Now we call them UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Are they indeed extraterrestrial, controlled by visitors from another world? These questions have haunted our imagination.
First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kakadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect, scattered abroad across the 4 winds. To the large remnant, men, women, and children. We'd like to shalom. This is for the hopeful elect, scattered abroad across the 4 winds. So we're going to jump right into this. It's from Gravitas News about UFOs. So we're going to get right into it. So this pilot, as you watch the news clip, you know, they want to know what the UFOs are, okay? But we're going to decipher through the scriptures, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai. Hopefully this lesson be edifying. And mainly this is to the elect, the hopeful elect, not the 2/3 nor the heathens, just the elect. These times that's approaching, you know, we see the third woe and the charagma, the MOTB, and we know we have Jacob trouble. We have all these different calamities is coming up on the house of Israel. But hopefully this be an edifying lesson to keep the faith and keep the hope of our deliverance, what the world ignorantly call UFOs. This salvation is for the house of Israel, which is the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and get into what they seen, or these pilots and these heathens scattered abroad across the 4 winds. Let me see. We're gonna start with the book of Ezekiel, the 1st chapter. So I'm gonna read it. I'm not gonna read. I'm gonna stop at verse 18. I don't want to make it too long. So I just want to hit some key points. So I'm gonna start at verse 4, and I'm gonna read it to verse 18. Ezekiel chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at verse 4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind come out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself. And the brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof was color of amber. And out of the midst was fire. And okay, so I'm gonna speak on it just for a second. And what the prophet Ezekiel is seeing is the same thing that the heathens round about are seeing, these different lights. So he's seeing like an amber color light. He's describing it as best he can during that time period. Okay? Out of the midst of fire. And that's why they call them the chariots of fire. Okay? In verse 5. Also out of the midst thereof came likeness of 4 living creatures. And they were appearance of man. So let me speak on that just for a second. Now you see how Esau Edom, and he put in the mind of the masses of the people that these are little green men, okay? So the elite, they understand exactly what's going on. They know what is flying these vehicles. They know it's just the lower level Edomites and the heathen that scattered abroad the four winds. But the elite, they understand exactly what it is. So this doesn't fit the description of the little green men. I'm gonna read it again, kind of briefly. Also, out of the midst thereof came the likeness of four living creatures. Okay, so this is what our book say of four living creatures, and it's going to explain their appearance. And this was their appearance, and they had the likeness of a man. Okay, and their feet were straight. Okay, let me slack you. Verse 6. Everyone had four faces, and everyone had four wings. So that doesn't line up with the little green men that Esau, Edom, trying to mislead the masses of the people. Okay, and their feet were straight, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. Okay, so what? Okay, so Hamashiach Yahushua, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ in Revelation 1 and 13. And you also have, and I want to say Daniel 7 and 9, the Ancient of Days, which is Yahweh. Okay, hair like the pure wool, and his skin is like burnished brass. So the angels are the so-called look like so-called Negroes. Okay, and so the color was at the burnished brass. So does that fit the description of a little green man? No, it don't. I'm going to try to get to the main points instead of me reading all of these scriptures. I just want to hit the key points. Okay. And they had the hands of a man under the wings on their four sides, and they forehead their faces and their wings. Okay. So in verse 8. In verse 8, it said, and they had the hands of a man under their wings. What that means is, Ezekiel, he's seen them piloting or flying the so-called UFOs or the chariots. Their hands are controlling them. That's what it means when they say they had a man's wings. They had the hands of a man under their wings. So that means they were flying them or they was controlling them. Okay. So we came to a point that Esau, or to the conclusion that Esau was lying, saying that they were little green men. The scriptures say different. Okay, the scriptures describe them as being the color of burnished brass. Okay, now let me go ahead and get to the point, the main point. You know what? I got it. Okay, just let me read verse 10. I'm gonna skip to verse 10. This to further prove that Esau is a liar. You know, saying that the so-called aliens are little green men. Verse 10. I'm gonna read verse 10, then I'm gonna jump to the main point. And for the likeness of their faces, they forehead the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they forehead the face of an ox on the left side. They forehead the face of an eagle. Okay, so that doesn't sound anything like a little green man. So now I want to get to the main point, get one of the main points, because this pilot, he was explaining how the vehicles were behaving in the heavens. Okay, so here we go. Let me see. I hope I didn't go too far. Let me see. I might have to read a little bit more to get to the point. Let's see the parent. Okay, let me jump to verse. You know what? Let me go ahead and read it just so I won't miss my point. Okay, in verse 11, and okay, thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. Two wings of every one were joined one to another, and two covered their bodies. And they went everyone straight. Okay, here we go. Here's one of the main points. This Paul say how they was zigzagging, moving in and out. In verse 12, and they went everyone straight forward, whither the Spirit was to go. They went and they turned, not when they went. Okay, so it means they was going from side to side at a fast pace. And that's how when you see them zigzag, they zig and they zag, they go zig and zag, okay? So that's what they're seeing. As the likeness of the creature, the appearance was burning coal of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures. See how it goes zigzagging? And fire was bright, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. So that's how, I mean, they go like a speed of lightning. Okay, so that's what these the pilot is seeing. In verse 14, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. See, that's how fast they move. They go zigzagging. Okay, so the scripture is explaining it to the T-bone. Now I beheld the living creature, behold, one wheel upon the earth, and the living creatures with his four faces. Okay. Now let me jump to the main point. No, okay. Let me go ahead and finish. It's verse 16. The appearance of the wheels and their works was like unto the color of beryl, which is green, and Salakia. After camp one night, me and my brother seen one in the same color at the chariot of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. And it was shaped like almost like a boomerang. But you could see the whole trim of it. It was just like the color of beryl, green. And they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So once you look, so you seen the depiction on the news clip when you say a wheel in the middle of a wheel, you see it's like a circle, and you have another circle in it. You see lights around about it, the outside, in the middle of it, it got more lights on the top. So you say like a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And when they went, so when they zigzagged, they went up and they four wings, and they turn not. They don't turn. They go. So that's what the pilot was seeing, the so-called UFOs, which are the chariot of Yahweh. Not when they went. As for their rings, so they rings. So what he's looking at is a circular shaped UFO. They different shapes, but the prophet Ezekiel, he's seeing them now as they are rings, circles. And for their rings, they were so high, and they were dreadful. And their rings were full of eyes round about them four. And it say the rings, for the rings, they were so high, and they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about. And once you seen the depiction on the news clip, Salakia, the eyes is talking about is the lights round about it, and they have windows. And they say they're dreadful. So we're gonna see. First, we're gonna get to. I'll come back to the dreadful. Now let's get to the bottom of what Esau Edom. I'll come back to this. Esau Edom. He called them UFOs, right? So we're gonna see what Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai called them. So we're gonna go to book of Zechariah 6. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Zechariah 6:1. Prophet Zechariah, and I turned and I lifted up mine eyes, and I looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots. You see, they are the chariots of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. They're not UFOs. Out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. Okay, if you read on down, it get into just say the different colors or the different chariots. So I had to pull this point or pull this scripture to find out what Yahweh called them. Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, they are the chariots of the Most High. If you read on down it, you know what? Let me read it to verse 5. And the first chariot were red, Slakia. And the first chariot were red horses. And in the second chariot, a black horse. And the third chariot was a white horse. See, it's not calling it a UFO. And the fourth chariot, gristle and bay. And then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, what are these, my Lord? In verse 5. And the angel answered and said unto me, these are the four spirits of heaven, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth, Yahweh of all the earth. So these are the living spirits that stand before Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Did he say anything about it in the green man? That's the lie that Esau Edom trying to push, because he understands, see this dragon, he understands, he know, the elite know that their time is almost up. Okay? If you read, I don't want to go off course, but read Zechariah 5:1. Okay, so let me get back to the curse of the thieves. Yep, the curse of the thieves. So let me get back to, I don't want to go off, I don't make this too long. Let me get back to, here we go, Ezekiel 1. Okay, I got to make a point. And I'm gonna go back to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 18, to make this point. And as for the rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and the ring were full of eyes round about them. So here's why they were dreadful. Here's why they're gonna be dreadful. And Esau Edom, he knows this. See, he knows it. And we're gonna go to the book of Isaiah. Here we go. Isaiah 66. This is why it's going to be a dreadful day. So Esau Edom, he understands, with the elite, they understand what's going on. Okay. Here's why they're going to be dreadful. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. Okay, so that's why they're going to be dreadful, because Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai, he's going to be leading the charge, accompanied by an innumerable number of angels. And Michael the archangel is going to be one of the chief angels, going to be coming, I said, right behind Yahweh Shai. Okay, so let me go to, let me see what I want to do. Okay, here we go. Okay, so, okay, here's what we'll do. Let me do this. Okay, because Esau Edom, yeah, okay, let me do this. Okay, let me do this here. So we'll go to Isaiah 31. Isaiah 31. Get straight to the point. Okay, here we go. Going to the book of Isaiah, chapter 31 and verse 5. As birds flying, so would the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Okay, so he coming back with the chariots. Now, I'm going to come back. Now, let me finish it because I don't want to go off. Okay, Isaiah 31 and verse 5. As birds flying, so would the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over, he will preserve it. So he's going to come back like birds flying. So I must be allowed, I'll come back to this. I must be allowed to speak on this right quick. I'll come back to it to back this up. So now I come back to Isaiah 31. On the book of Revelation, in chapter 1 and verse 7. And this is what Esau ate up. He know. See, the elite, they understand what's about to go down. See, they know that their kingdom, that they're at the end of their rulership. Okay? They know they're at the end. So their rulership. So that's why they're trying to push. You see, all of a sudden, well, I won't speak in code. I don't want to talk too much. Ate a jump shot, ate a jab, and the 3-point shot. You see how they're not talking about it, okay? Okay, so now they behind the scene, they're coming up with some other, so I don't want to talk too much, but they know. So now they are talking about the Karatma. They turning everything, just say a digital. Revelation 13 and 16. The third woe, you see what Russia, you see how they getting down right now, how the Most High, how put the spirit on them. So they trying to speed their thing up, but it's not going to work. So let me stop rambling and get back into it. Revelation, okay, this is going to line up with Isaiah 31 and 5. And I'm going to go back to Isaiah 31 and 5 and read it. Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also shall pierce him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so say amen. And the clouds, he's talking about the UFOs, the chariots. He's coming back with an innumerable number of angels. Okay? So let's go back to Isaiah 35. Isaiah 31. Isaiah 31, Salakia. 31 and 5. As birds flying, so would the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it. And passing over, he will preserve it. So let me speak on this for a second. As birds flying, they're coming back in formation, in battle formation. Okay? As birds flying, they're going to come back covering the whole heavens. Okay? With innumerable numbers of angels, countless angels. Okay? As birds flying, so would the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Okay? So he's going to defend Jerusalem. So we're going to go to, and this is how he's going to defend Jerusalem. And I'll come back. Okay, let me do this. Let me get this is how they're going to defend Jerusalem. Let me go to this, and I'll come back to this. We're gonna go to the book of Revelation 12, and this is how they're going to defend Jerusalem. You know what? Okay, let me do this. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. Who was the dragon? United States of America, tied in with the NATO and say EU nations. It's just say the Edomites, all of Edom, okay? And the dragon fought against the angels, and the dragon fought against his angels, okay? Okay, let me read it again. And there were war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. All of the European nations, and plus the other heathens, they're going to join themselves together to try to defend their kingdom against Yahushua Mashiach, okay? And their angels are their soldiers, which would be their planes or tanks, submarines, and they're okay. I just leave it at that. All right. Before it gets okay. And there were war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angel, and prevailed not. Neither were their place found any more in heaven. Okay, so Esau, Edom, if you go back to, I want to say Isaiah, the 14th chapter, start at the 9th verse and read on down, how he got kicked out of, you know what, I got to, since I spoke on it, I got to go back, now I got to pull it. Let's see. Isaiah 14th chapter. Now I'll come back to this. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to get straight to the point. Isaiah 14 and 12. How art thou fallen down? How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? So he got cut out of heaven. He got kicked out of heaven through that firefight, through the war in heaven against Michael, the archangel. Well, Yahushua, Hamashah, and Michael, I said the archangels, and just the other, I said numerable angels. Okay, now let me get back to, okay, now we're going to see how we're going to escape this destruction. Let's go to, okay, Isaiah 26 and 6, let me see. Isaiah 26, where you at? 26 and 20, I mean, it's like it. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation has passed over. Okay, and the indignation started with the third woe being kicked off before Hamashiach Yahushua come back. Like it's saying, shut thyself. It's like, let me read it again. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, which is talking about the so-called UFO, which will be the chariots of Yahweh, by Shem Yahushua, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation had passed. So the chambers he's talking about is the chariots of the Most High, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua. And the indignation starting with the third woe. And the nukes, the heathens gonna push where Yahweh gonna put upon the Yahweh, he's gonna put upon the king's hearts is to turn against Babylon the Great, United States of America, and burn it with fire. That's the indignation he's talking about, okay? And if you go to Luke, that's the indignation. ICBMs. And so as the ICBMs are falling or raining or pelting down on United States of America, Babylon the Great, really scattered abroad across the four winds. But most of the, say, Israelites are here, say, in the North Country, okay? So let me come back to that. Let me go to Luke 12 and 49. I am come to send fire upon the earth, and what will I if there be already kindled? And so Yahushua Mashiach, they coming back with the chariots, and it's going to already be on flamed up. It's going to be a big bonfire. Say the biggest bonfire ever. Okay? So it's going to already be on fire. But in Yahushua and the angels, they coming back to put more fire on this wicked kingdom. Say Babylon the Great. Okay? Now let me go to Sirach. Let's see. Sirach. What the world ignorantly call UFOs. Let's see. No, my bad. You know what? No, I won't pull it up. Let me see. Dang it. It's like Israel. Wow. You know, let me do this. You know what? Let me just get to the point. Let me read Revelation. Let me read Revelation 18. And 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye may be not partakers of her sin, and that you may not receive none of her plagues." So come out of her, my people. So that's going to link up with Revelation 11 and this part of the deliverance, what the world ignorant call UFOs. This is salvation to the elect. Okay. Here we go. Revelation 11 and 12 going to line up, will link up with Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. Revelation chapter 11, verse 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, "Come up hither." And they ascended up into heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And the same hour a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were frightened and gave glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. Okay, so it said, "Come up hither." That's going to be, say, an escape route for the elect. Okay, their salvation is only for the elect. Okay, being beamed up in those chariots. And it say, in verse 13, and the remnant were frightened and gave glory to the God of heaven, Yahweh. And the reason the remnant was frightened, Lord willing, I'm one of them, is because it's going to be by the skin of our teeth. As those missiles being pelting down on Babylon the Great, and Yahushua and the innumerable numbers of angels, as all this is happening simultaneously, we'll be getting beamed up, come up here, the Lord willing. You know, and so Esau Edom, he know that his time is up. And let me read one for Esau Edom. Let me pull one for Edom. Let me see. This for Edom. Okay, let me start at verse 7. Esau Edom. Hey, Esau, man. You already know what time it is. You know what time it is, Esau. Going to the book of 2nd Esdras in chapter 6. And I'm gonna start at verse 7. Did answer I and said, "What shall be the parting asunder of times? Or when shall the end be of the first, and the beginning of it that follow it? So Esau Edom, hey, he had his turn, he had his chance, hey, for ruling, and he destroyed the whole earth in wickedness. So he came out first, okay? So he had his run. And these demons, they know that. Especially, I say wicked elite, that's hiding over there in Europe. Or when shall the end of the first and the beginning of it that follow it? In verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac and unto Jacob, and Esau were born of him. And Jacob held first the heel of Esau. In verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. And that's what Esau don't want. He know, you know what? I'm gonna let the scripture talk. And here's what he don't want to happen. It's what he's frightened for. You need to be scared, because you know it's over, Esau. I mean, the way you done the children of Israel. I'm gonna close it out with this one. I had plenty of scriptures, but I didn't want to make it long, to make it short as possible. I just want to throw out a few points there on how the elect is going to be delivered in the second Exodus. Okay, the first Exodus was on feet. It was a glorious a deliverance. But this one gonna be, ain't never gonna be. It's gonna always be talked about in the kingdom forever and ever, for all eternity, on how our power had delivered the children of Israel out of this current Babylonian spiritual known inside of Egypt of the United States of America. And this is what these devils made scared for. And they need to be scared. Going to the book of Revelation, chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And that's where we just hoping for, and that's where waiting for patiently. So hopefully this was an edifying lesson. I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rekakudash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and all the other brothers teaching the same likewise doctrine of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Until next time, Abba, and Shalom, and say DTA.